I think everyone have come. Shall we start? Yes, so we were talking about contempt of court, right? So it comes under judiciary's function of court of record. Remember this, okay? Contempt of court comes under judiciary's court of record. First point is, it will see, just a minute. Yeah. So So, what is civil contempt? Civil contempt is nothing but any judgments given by a court, that particular judgment will not be respected or it will not be followed. That time it will be called as a civil contempt. So, what the court will do in such a case, it has the right to put a fine or also imprison the related authority or the respective authority for up to 6 months. Okay, that is the power of Supreme Court and High Court under contempt of court. What is contempt? Civil contempt of court. And what is the criminal contempt of court? Can anyone tell what would be the criminal contempt of court?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
if anyone violates the fundamental rights and principles of the Constitution.
Yeah, so criminal contempt is nothing but if they outrightly what insult the Supreme Court. For example, tell anything bad about Supreme Court in the social media or in the public media, or being a part of judiciary itself, they'll start telling bad or making illegal or unwanted accusations on the judiciary. Okay, if that particular grounds are proved that it is a fake ground with the intention only to insult judiciary, then that will be considered as a criminal contempt. Okay, so for example, this Justice Karnan, about whom I already told you in the beginning of the class, Justice Karnan is the only Indian judge who has been jailed, put to jail. I think he also had plans of contesting against Prime Minister. I mean, Narendra Modi's constituency. He was planning to contest elections also after coming out of the jail. So the reason was that he was simply accusing his seniors. He was judge of Kolkata High Court, I think. So his retirement was almost nearing. Almost from 1.5 to 2 years, he had been kind of a rebel judge. You know what he used to do? He used to simply allege the judiciary about corruption, like judges are taking money in Kolkata High Court.
पापा इसके ये
There is a disturbance. Yes. So, what were the cases against him? And one more thing he told was, my Chief Justice of Calcutta High Court that time, he is discriminating me on the grounds that I am an SC, ST, I belong to a Dalit category. There were many accusations posted by Justice Karnan against judiciary. And once investigation was done, it was all found that he is just making all false claims. And and it is found that he and Supreme Court generally accuses that he is not mentally sound to be a judge of High Court, and that is the reason why he was sent to jail. This amounts to what? Breach of trust in the judiciary. It happens. What happens is it is kind of insulting the judicial system. That is the reason he was accused to be a contempt of court under criminal charges. Okay, he was imprisoned for 6 months or so, and he is removed also what he retired in that duration, and now I think he has started his own political party. How many of you had read about Justice Karnan earlier? Justice Karnan, were you all aware of it? It happened just 2 years ago, not very long ago also.
Have you only told us to find the name of the person who has went who the name of the judge who has went to jail?
Okay. So there is another contempt case which is making rounds these days. What is that? Just 2 days ago I found it in newspaper. You know, Prashant Bhushan is a popular lawyer, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yeah.
what had happened, probably in the lockdown time, you know, our Chief Justice of India, Sharad Arvind Bobde, a picture was very popular in the social media wherein he's riding
Sitting
some
on the
super
bike
land
Harley
bike. Yeah,
Davidson's.
what is that? Harley Davidson bike. Yeah. So he was sitting on that particular bike, and it was just a post for a photo, or probably the newspaper article also carried that time that Justice Bob Day has special affection towards the bikes, and even he himself has a good collection of bikes. He has some passion for bikes, and when he saw this particular bike and he tried to ride it, and the picture became very viral in the social media. So based on this particular picture, Prashant Bhushan is an advocate of Supreme Court. What he had commented, he had written in Twitter is that this Chief Justice of India is not wearing a mask, is not wearing a helmet, and is riding the bike. Whose bike is that? That bike is supposed to
It
be
was
the
the
bike
son
of
of
yeah,
BJP's leader, I
yes.
think.
The bike belonged to a BJP leader, right? So what
BJP
is
leader's son.
BJP leader's son? Okay. So, what is the accusation here? Judicial has to be away from politics. It is something, it's a very independent organization, so it has to abstain itself from including in all such activities. So, what Supreme Court had been closed for all the functionings during the proceedings of what lockdown was there. So, the tweet told that the Chief Justice of India is violating the rules himself, is not wearing a mask, he is not wearing a helmet, he is using the bike of a BJP political, belongs to his family, and also, in spite of doing all this, he has closed down the Supreme Court for the enforcement of fundamental rights of the citizens. How justified is it? This was the tweet of Prashant Bhushan. So now Supreme Court has filed a criminal contempt against him because he has tried to insult the Chief Justice of India. So is this act by Supreme Court justified?
It is not.
What Sharath Arvind Bobde did, was that justified?
No, ma'am. If bike really belonged to that politician's son, then it is not justified, as it is in the law that they can't come in contact with the parliament.
Yes. See, when you are a public personality or a public office holder, there is certain behavior expected out of you. You have to be politically neutral. Okay. Judiciary and other civil servants, for example, the IAS officers or state government officers, all them, they have to be politically neutral because they'll be functioning in the government permanently. Today one political party will come, tomorrow the elections will happen, some other political party will come. So the people, the so what the government functionaries, they cannot tell that today different party comes, I don't like that party, I'll not work for them. So that cannot happen. So these particular dignitaries, they are asked to be politically neutral, and this particular principle was outrightly seen violated by the Chief Justice of India. So, but they're accusing the advocate because he is also part of the same judiciary. He has been accused of criminal contempt. So, it is a matter that can be debated in the grounds. And I think for coming 2 weeks, it will definitely catch the newspaper headlines. So, clear with the topic? What is contempt of court?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, let's move further. So, what is the age for minimum age required for a person to be judge of a Supreme Court or High Court?
There is
Ma'am,
no
no
minimum age.
age. No is minimum.
It is based on the
Okay.
senior. It is based on
There
the
is
experience or seniority.
right. So there is no minimum age for a person to be judge of a Supreme Court or a High Court. Right. And what is the maximum age? That is, what is the retirement age for a Supreme Court
65.
judge?
55.
I'm
65. Okay. And what could be the retirement age for a High Court judge?
62.
65.
62. High Court judges 62 and Supreme Court judges 65. Okay. Then one more question is, see who decides, this is a kind of revision, uh, how many numbers of judges should be there in a Supreme Court, that will be decided by
I'm Chief
Parliament.
Justice of India.
No,
how
Parliament.
number of, yes, number of judges of a Supreme Court, that will be decided by the Parliament. And if I ask you how many judges should be there in the High Court, who will decide that?
Uh,
Just
Pa-
make a guess. If you know, you tell, or else you
Parliament
can tell.
itself.
Yes.
Parliament itself.
So this is a small difference between High Court and Supreme Court. Okay. In case of a Supreme Court, in case of number of judges of Supreme Court, it is decided by the Parliament through a act that is formed, that is Number of Judges of Supreme Court Act, right? But in case of this one, High Court judge, it is the president who decides the same. Okay, that is the difference. Supreme Court, Parliament. President will declare the number of judges of a particular high court. And how will that be done? That will be done based on the population of the state or the jurisdiction of this high court. What is the population of jurisdiction of the high court and the caseload? These two will be considered, and then number of judges will be increased or decreased by the president. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So we'll see little more points of High Court.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
from the region-wise High Court judges will be decided by President.
Which one?
From region-wise High Court judges,
Region-wise High Court judges. What is that? High Court judges.
means ma'am, the High Court is there are in various places High Courts are there, no?
Yeah.
So
So based on that, is
according
what I told. Population of the jurisdiction of High Court also will be considered. For example, now take Guwahati High Court. It has 4 states under its jurisdiction, right? So population of 4 states and the number of cases coming to these 4 states, those will be considered by while deciding the number of judges of High Court. Is the screen visible to you all?
Yes, ma'am. It is.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So shall we proceed?
Yes, ma'am.
If you have any doubt, you can ask. If you have any doubt till now or relating to any other current affairs. Yeah. So I had told you every decision during the British India, it had to be passed in the Britain Parliament, right? So in order to establish high courts in India also, it needed the approval of Britain Parliament. So what was that act? The act was Indian High Courts Act, right? Indian High Courts Act 1861 was the act which led to the establishment of high courts in India for the first time under British India, right? So act happened in 1861, so it took 1 year for the process to start. And this image I'm showing you, keep this image in mind. I've done it like this so that you can remember it in a better way. Let's start it from east, okay? East India Company, you remember it like that. East India Company headquarters was in Calcutta. So India's capital that time, British India's capital was Calcutta, right? So the first high court was established in Calcutta, that is on the eastern side, right? That was in the year 1862. Correct? July 1862, the Calcutta High Court was established. Then directly opposite to that is Mumbai province, that is Bombay province, it is called as. So, just as we have states in India, I told you we have 28 states and 8 union territories. During the British government or British India time, there were provinces in India. The states were called as provinces. Probably maximum 4 to 5 provinces were there till 1935. After 1935, it was made to 11. That is not much important here. But just remember, provinces are nothing but the state governments during the British India. Okay. So they decided to establish a high court for these provinces. So first high court was established in Kolkata province. Okay. That is Calcutta High Court. After that, we go to the Bombay province where Bombay High Court will be established. Then South India, the next important province, that will be Madras High Court. So in single year, 3 high courts will be established. First in Calcutta, then Bombay, and then Madras. Then after 2 to 3 years, we'll get Allahabad High Court, that is 1866. So if you are given the question, which is the oldest high court in India till date, what will be the answer?
Calcutta High Court.
Calcutta High Court, right? So first is Calcutta, then you might also be given answered like to arrange the sequence, right? So if that is the case, Calcutta, Mumbai, Madras, and Allahabad. So out of in these three high courts established in the same year, Allahabad High Court after 4 years. Okay. Clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Then, as I told you, you know the Constitution of
Ma'am?
India. Yeah.
Ma'am, can you tell me the year in which the act was passed? Indian High Court.
It is 61. 1861. Instrument
Okay,
it is Indian High Court Act 1861 was passed. So, in order to put that into practice, it took 1 year. Remember, like that. First is Calcutta, Mumbai, and then Madras Presidency.
Okay.
Yeah. So the number of high courts now are 25, right? So, but when the constitution was framed and it came into force in 1950, the number of high courts, you know what constitution said? It told if there are 15 states in India, 15 high courts should be there. If there are 28 states in India, 28 high courts should be there. This was the provision made in original constitution. Okay. But the parliamentarians or lawmakers that time felt that it is not necessary for every state to have its own high court. For example, see Arunachal Pradesh. If we see Arunachal Pradesh, geographically it's a very big state, right? It is bigger than Assam and it is bigger than many other states like Sikkim, Kerala, and all. But if you see the population density, very few people live in Arunachal Pradesh, okay, because of the geographical terrain there. It is bound with Himalayas and it's a rugged terrain, and most of it is also covered by the river system. So
It is not
population.
suitable.
Yes, so it is not suitable for the people to live there. So the population is very less. So do you think having one particular high court, court will not be getting much cases at all? People will be simply sitting in the high court, taking their salaries, hardly 2 or 3 cases per day. Even if it is 100 cases per day, it is very less when compared to the caseloads of other high court. So what the parliamentarians thought, let us merge it with the neighboring high courts so that we'll save certain resources and also the energy spent by the workforce. This is the reason. So this, as I told you, it was mentioned in the constitution itself. What was mentioned? Every state should have its own high court. So this particular point in the constitution had to be amended by the parliament. Okay, so in the year 1956, okay, remember the year 1956, 7th Constitutional Amendment Act will be passed, and through that, a provision will be made wherein 2 or more states can have a single high court. That provision will be introduced in the constitution. Clear? So, original constitution tells that now every state should have its own high court. But in 1956, 7th Constitutional Amendment will be passed, through which a provision will be added to the constitution which mentions that 2 or more states can have a single high court. Clear with this?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So, you know the jurisdictional what? Okay, tell me the only high court, union territory that has a high court.
Chandigarh.
Delhi.
Chandigarh High Court is shared with, it's actually the High Court of Punjab and this.
Delhi.
Yeah, Delhi is the only union territory that have its own High Court. Okay, Chandigarh High Court, it is actually the original High Court of Punjab and Haryana. That applies to High Court of Chandigarh area as well. So the only UT that has a High Court is actually Delhi. Yeah. So Andaman Nicobar Island comes under the jurisdiction of which High Court?
Chennai.
No. Andaman Nicobar Island is in which sea?
Ma'am, is it Calcutta High Court?
Yes.
Kolkata maybe.
Yes, Kolkata. So Andaman Nicobar Island, the judicial jurisdiction of Andaman Nicobar Island lies with the Kolkata High Court. Then Lakshadweep.
Kerala.
Yes, Lakshadweep comes under the jurisdiction of Kerala High Court. Then Pondicherry.
High Court, Ernakulam.
Yeah, Pondicherry.
Tamil Nadu.
Chennai.
It is called Madras High Court. You know, Madras name has changed to
Old.
Chennai, right? But
Madras.
High Court still has this old name. There was an effort made to change the name. I'm not sure of the process, whether it is passed or not. But as of I know, the old names have been retained till now. Then one more is what about Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh? Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh.
Srinagar High Court.
Yes, they had that particular state had its own high court, but now as they have become two union territories, they both share a single high court, that is Srinagar High Court. And Dadra Nagar Haveli, Daman and Diu,
Gujarat.
Mumbai High Court, Bombay High Court,
Okay.
I mean. They come under Bombay High Court. This can be asked as because union territory is very much in news. In January itself, number of union territories got reduced, and exactly 1 year ago we got two new union territories. So this is a topic that has always been in news. So if you would have read the newspaper, no, this all is covered automatically in the newspaper. For example, in the Hindu or Indian Express, if you read, you will get the whole details of the entire article.
Ma'am,
Which was the last one after Jammu and Kashmir?
Daman and Diu.
Jammu Kashmir and Ladakh, they are the new union territories. What happened in January 2020 is Dadra, Nagar Haveli, Daman, Diu, they are merged into a single union territory now.
Okay,
That is
ma'am.
why we have only 8 and not 9 union territories.
Ma'am, and total states are 28.
28, yeah. Total states are 28.
Ma'am, that Daman and Diu, that Dadar Nagar Haveli, is geography located near Gujarat?
Yes, it is in Gujarat.
Okay.
So, any other doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Can you see this table now? Here, there is a small table. It's a small facts about the high courts. See, Allahabad High Court, if you see, it was established in 1866, as we saw. It is called as the largest high court. In what grounds largest high court? On the grounds of number of judges. Okay, on the grounds how many it has. You can tell that Allahabad High Court has the largest number of judges. That is 160. Okay, and if you see Guwahati High Court, that is in Assam, Guwahati High Court has the jurisdiction over 4 states. Okay, that is the reason why Guwahati High Court is called the largest high court in terms of jurisdiction, and Allahabad High Court is called largest high court in terms of number of judges. Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
No, ma'am. Please repeat it once more
Yeah.
time.
If you see this image here, Allahabad High Court has how many judges? It has 160 judges. You can see the last column here.
Yes,
Allahabad High Court has 160 judges. How 160 is determined? It is based on the population and also the case loads coming. You know Uttar Pradesh, Allahabad is in Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, these two states are always on top of largest number of population in the Indian states, right? So based on that phenomena, the Supreme President has decided that Allahabad High Court should have 160 judges. It is the highest number of judges in any high courts in India. Out of the 25 high courts, Allahabad High Court is having largest number of judges. So if the question is, which is the largest high court in India in terms of judges, that is Allahabad High Court.
Allahabad.
Yeah. So again, if you see Guwahati High Court, where is Guwahati? It is in the northeast region, that is Assam. So if you see Guwahati here, under Guwahati's High Court, the jurisdiction of it extends not only to Assam, but Arunachal Pradesh, Mizoram and Nagaland as well. Okay, so Guwahati High Court has 4 states under its jurisdiction. So geographically, if you see, it is having the largest area under its jurisdiction. That is why when it comes to jurisdiction matters, Guwahati High Court is the largest. When it comes to number of judges, Allahabad High Court is the largest.
Okay, ma'am. Thank
Okay,
you, ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah. So, and one more thing you can see, Andhra Pradesh High Court, it is the latest High Court. Have you come across a news article that was telling that Andhra Pradesh will have 3 capitals from now on?
Yes, ma'am. Hyderabad and Telangana. I think that.
Telangana capital is Hyderabad. It is a separate state. That was the new state added in 2014. I am talking about Andhra Pradesh, the already state which was there. You know, when the state was divided, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, the capital of the state See, the new state now, the new name added to the Indian state list is Telangana, right? There was no state called Telangana earlier. Telangana is a new state added. But what the problem was is if you see Hyderabad, that was the capital of erstwhile Andhra Pradesh as a united state, it came under Telangana. It
Telangana.
came under the geographical area of Telangana. So what there was again a problem, as in Hyderabad generates a lot of revenue. It's a capital, so the amount of money that the state gets will be maximum from that particular place. So there was again a quarrel like Hyderabad should go to Andhra Pradesh or Telangana. Then Andhra Pradesh people they were telling that ours is the original state, so it should come to us. But Telangana was like it is coming under our geographical area. So what the decision was taken is Hyderabad will be a part of the new state that is Telangana, and the older state that is Andhra Pradesh will have a new capital. Okay, so when this new state Andhra Pradesh was formed, the chief minister that time was Chandrababu Naidu. Heard of the name Chandrababu Naidu? He was instrumental in formation of the capital called Amaravati, and quite a popular politician in the southern states. So I hope you're understanding the concept, right? The two
Yes, ma'am.
states of Andhra and Telangana. Yeah. So when Andhra Pradesh was formed, the chief minister, no, he formed a committee, as in which is the right place for forming the capital in this particular new Andhra Pradesh, which doesn't have a capital now. So there was a committee. I think it was headed by a person called Shivaraman. I'm not sure with the name. That particular committee, it recommended 3 capital for the state. Okay, why 3 capital? See, now there is one particular city in your area. So what can you observe is that the area around the city is very much developed. And if you keep going further away from the city, the development goes on decreasing. So if you put up 3 capitals for Andhra Pradesh, it will be in 3 different places. 3 cities develop and more area around the cities will develop. That will lead to overall development of the state. This was the idea behind 3 capital principle. Okay. But the then chief minister, he rejected that idea and told, no, this is very stupid idea. We'll go for one capital, and that will be Amaravati. And he wanted to make it a very smart capital. He bought investments probably from Singapore, and the city was planned in a very huge, very majestic way. And the construction of every building has also been started. But now again, elections came. The opposition party then became the chief minister now. And this person, Jagan Mohan Reddy, I think at present, he is again batting for the 3 capital. Though some people tell it might be a political move or anything, but if you see based on the recommendation of that particular committee, 1 capital will be for executive, 1 capital will be for legislature, and 1 capital will be for judiciary, right? So High Court will be at one place will be having the Lok Sabha, or what it is called, assembly, and another place will be having the secretariat. If this happens, 3 cities will develop and areas around the cities will probably increase in a better way, and that will lead to overall development. Okay, so now at present this particular High Court of Andhra Pradesh is in Amaravati. But if you see the new draft that is passed by the state government, judicial capital happens to be a place called Kurnool. So I don't know how they'll transfer or they'll change the name of High Court or something. That is yet to be seen. If you get to read about this article, do read. We'll discuss it in the current affairs, but still it's good if you read it in the newspaper once.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Clear with this topic?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, in that table there was the act, that Government of Act 1935. What was that?
Government of India, that is another act that was passed by British India, and it was probably, you can tell, Indian constitution has many features that has been borrowed from this Government of India Act. Nothing but Guwahati High Court, that also needs a legal basis to be formed, and based on Government of India Act 1935, Guwahati High Court was enacted. And for Andhra Pradesh High Court, you can see AP Reorganization Act 2014. The act is not much important, just for you to remember, every High Court or any new High Court comes in, it has to be supported by a legal basis. That is, Parliament establishes a new High Court.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah. So Supreme Court of India came under which part of the Constitution, if you remember? Supreme Court topic?
Part 5,
Yes, Part 5. That is Union Government.
Article 1,
Yeah. 214. Yeah, 124 to 149.
24, Clause 1, 2, 3.
Yes, and article now High Court is a part of the state government, so that will come under part 6 of the Constitution, right? So article 214 to 231. Here I have made the first statement that who decides the strength of High Court? That is President. Unlike in case of Supreme Court, it was Parliament, right? So it is in part 6 of the Constitution. Then Article 216. Can you see Article 216 here? Don't bother about
Yes,
the
ma'am.
article. Just
Yes,
remember
ma'am.
the provision. Okay. So every High Court shall consist of Chief Justice and such other number of judges. So again, it is not giving you the number of judges. Constitution is not providing how many judges should be there in the High Court. That is left to the president. Okay, but it is just telling every High Court should have one Chief Justice and other number of judges. Right. So as we saw in the case of Supreme Court, appointment of judges needed how many members in the collegium?
1 plus 4.
1 plus 4 senior most judges of the Supreme Court. But in
Yes,
case
ma'am.
of appointment of a High Court judge, the number of collegium, collegium will again be in the Supreme Court itself. That is Chief Justice of India plus 2 senior most judges of the Supreme Court will be the collegium here. Okay, they'll recommend the name who should be the judge of a particular High Court, and the recommendation will be given to the president, and then the so and so person will be appointed as judge of a High Court, right? So in case of Supreme Court, collegium strength is 4 plus 1. In case of High Court, the collegium strength is only 2 plus 1. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, there is no age limit for a person. Minimum age requirement is not there, and you only told the answer that 62 is the retiring age for High Court judge. Okay, then what is the eligibility? Right? If not minimum age, there should be other eligibility, right? So that is nothing but 10 years. Definitely, citizen of India is always a category. It's always a condition, and then 10 years as a judicial office in the territory of India. He should hold a judicial office for at least 10 years in the territory of India. What does it mean? Anybody can tell? Judicial office, holding a judicial office in the territory of India for 10 years.
Then he should be a lawyer with the citizenship of India.
Should be a citizen of India and a lawyer. Okay, that is the second condition. Holding judicial office means he should be a judge of district court judge. Session courts are there, in the taluk level, municipal courts are there. Any such court, he should be a judge of any such court at least for 10 years in a minimum amount. More than that also will be considered. Probably that's up to the collegium. So what is the minimum criteria? Minimum 10 years as a judge of any district court or any other that is called as the inferior courts to High Court. Okay, they come under the jurisdiction of the High Court. So he should be a judicial officer, that is judge of any such High Court. That is one condition. Or other than that, he can also, a person who has served as an advocate of High Court for 10 years, even they can be appointed as judge of High Court. Okay, clear with this? There are only two conditions here. Remember, in case of Supreme Court judge, even a person who is considered as a distinguished jurist in the eyes of the president, even they can be appointed as judge of Supreme Court. But in case of High Court, remember, there is no chance for a legal expert or a person of good judicial knowledge to become a part of High Court judge. Clear? Distinguished jurist, there is no such a provision in recruitment of High Court judges. Clear? Are you able to compare between Supreme Court and High Court? If you compare and study in anything, if you have to study about two things, just compare them and study so that you can remember things in a better way. when you read Supreme Court, when you revise Supreme Court again, just keep reminding yourself about the provisions of High Court as well. That time, what will happen? You'll get a clarity over the points, right? So, what are the differences that you found out between High Court and Supreme Court provisions now? Can you just summarize? Yes. Is my voice audible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
So, what are the differences here you saw between Supreme Court and High Court in case of appointment of judges? In case of appointment, yeah, tell me.
It is that to be a judge of High Court, you should have an experience of 10 years as a lawyer and
Yes.
experience of 5 years as a judge
Okay.
of Supreme Court.
In case of a High Court judge, it is 10-10 for both the areas. In case of Supreme Court judge, 10 years as a High Court judge or 5 years as a High Court judge or 10 years as an advocate or distinguished jurist. So you don't see the distinguished jurist in case of a High Court judge. Okay. So you keep comparing and studying. That will be help you to remember in a better way.
Ma'am, please can you summarize it one more time?
Yeah.
Only the point.
Yes, so first if you take the appointment basis, what will be the qualification? If you see, we just discussed, Supreme Court judge will have 4 qualifications. Remember, citizen is 1, 5 years as judge of any high court, 2, and then third will be, I think, 10 years as advocate of Supreme Court, fourth will be distinguished jurist, right? But in case of High Court, there are only 3. What is that? Citizen is common for both, citizen of India. Then 10 years as a judicial, should hold a judicial office for 10 years in case of High Court. That is nothing but junior judge in a, that is in the courts inferior to the High Court. In those courts, he should hold the office for 10 years or advocate of the High Court for 10 years. These two are the conditions for High Court judge. Then next comes strength of the Supreme Court judge and High Court judge. Strength of Supreme Court judges, how much? Who will decide that? By Parliament. In case of High Court, it is decided by President. And remember, in both the cases, appointment will be done by President himself. Okay, Supreme Court judge or High Court judge, who will appoint them? They'll be appointed by the President themselves. Okay, then next comes the next point. While appointing, you need somebody to recommend, right? In case of Supreme Court, it will be done by collegium. Strength is 4 plus 1. In case of High Court, it is collegium. Strength is 2 plus 1. Clear? So if you study in this way, you will not forget things. Like in part 5 is Supreme Court, part 6 is High Court. You have to compare. That time it will be a better way to remember.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah?
Ma'am, and the retirement age of both the level code is different, right?
Yes, exactly. Retirement, I forgot to mention that. Good. Retirement is 65 for Supreme Court judge and 62 for a High Court judge. And how many Supreme Courts are there in India?
One.
Only one Supreme Court, right? And many High Courts are there. Why I asked that was there is no scope for a Supreme Court judge to be transferred anywhere. Supreme Court is only one, that is in Delhi, and they have to work there only. There is no scope for Supreme Court judges to be transferred anywhere else. In case of High Court, the judges of High Courts can be transferred among the places, right? Even different, for example, today there is a person of Madras High Court. Probably there is the annual reshuffling happens, right? He probably doesn't want to work there, or many considerations will be taken, just as any transfer policy. They'll be transferred to Madhya Pradesh High Court, and that particular judge will be again exchanged to the Rajasthan High Court. All these transfers will be done in the High Court judges, but no such transfer happen in case of Supreme Court judge. Clear? And
Yes, ma'am.
who will decide about these transfers? Who will
President.
transfer them?
The president?
Yes, president, because he is the one who is appointing them, right? So he'll only transfer them. But he remember one thing, he cannot do it as he wishes. He has to consult the Chief Justice of India for opinion, and also see, for example, two states, like transfer means it will involve two states, right? For example, Madras High Court and Rajasthan High Court. Madras High Court Chief Justice will be consulted. Rajasthan High Court Chief Justice will be consulted. Their opinion will be sought, and the transfers will happen. Okay.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
ma'am, that is it correct that a High Court judge can request for transfer for his transfer?
That happens if you see.
He will be given an option, ma'am.
Yes, the options are given. For example, just see what happens with ultimately a person's what you said, when a person is working somewhere, in order to have 100% job satisfaction, they should be happy in the place where they live. If the judge is probably not satisfied in a place where he is living, or it is far from his house, or probably he's having some family commitments to be fulfilled, he can always ask for a transfer. Just like a government servant, his transfer will also function in that particular way. And see, if one particular judge will be allowed to be in a high court for long years of time, there are chances that he'll become close to the people there, and he might be biased towards some of his decisions. Like he might develop contacts, or he might develop some friendships with other political people there. So in order to maintain the neutrality and unbiasedness, these transfers keep happening. It's kind of an annual activity in the judiciary.
Ma'am,
Yeah.
like if a Chief Justice of a High Court is transferred to the means another High Court,
Yeah.
then at the High Court in which he is transferred, then then the Chief Justice of that High Court will be going there where.
It's not about Chief Justice, it's the High Court. I didn't get your question, sorry. Can you repeat? If the person is transferred from one High Court to another High Court, yeah?
Like Chief Justice of High Court is transferred from one High Court to another.
Okay.
Then where he is transferred, then that existing Chief Justice of High Court will be going where.
See, generally, Chief Justice as such won't be transferred. Normal judges are transferred. Okay, based on seniority, they'll become Chief Justice. And most of the time, if Chief Justice is transferred, even they have to be moved to some other place. Like only when there is a vacancy, the transfer will happen, right? When there is no vacancy, the person generally won't be disturbed in his functioning. And most
Okay.
of the time, Chief Justice won't be transferred because they are given responsibility of one particular High Court. Most of the times they are not touched like that. Yes, and one last point I was about to tell you is about Justice Chinnaswamy Swaminathan Karnan, first High Court judge to be sent to prison for contempt while in office. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
So this is all I had to tell you about Supreme Court and High Court. And one more work you would like to study about any case called as it's a very interesting case. For example, have you all have any idea about what is public interest litigation?
Yes, ma'am. PIL.
Yeah, PIL. What is PIL exactly? What is the purpose of public interest litigation?
I mean to amend something or in interest of the public,
Okay, in
in
interest of
order
the
to
public.
change something in the society.
Yes. So PIL is associated with one particular word. It's a legal word. Can anyone recall that? There is one word called as locus standi. Heard of it anytime? LOCUS, locus, STANDI, standi. Locus standi. Heard of it anywhere?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
I'm in the newspaper.
Okay. Locus standi is
It's actually
one
there in one of my.
Yes.
Nothing, ma'am.
Okay, so till this PIL became popular in India, or till it got legal sanction from the Supreme Court as such, what used to happen in Indian judiciary is that if you are a victim of one particular case, or if you are being victimized for anything, it's only you who can approach the judiciary, or it's only you who can approach the legal mechanism. I am sitting somewhere in other part of the country. I can nowhere file a case on behalf of you. I cannot tell that this particular person is not capable enough to go. I'll fight the case. This was not popular. See, in case of what will happen if there is a good educated person, think that government is violating his fundamental right, or just think that he has been there is, you know, the idea of under trial. What is the concept of under trial?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so just imagine there is a thief. Okay, there is a thief who has been doing pickpocketing from many years, and he is one fine day he has robbed. Unfortunately, he has robbed the pocket of a very rich person and very influential person. So he has been brought to jail now, right? So then, what will be the procedure followed after that? After
First, he will be taken to the judge first.
yes, so
Then he
according to
will
the
be in the
procedure,
custody.
right, right. So what has to happen is he has to be produced before the magistrate within 24 hours of the arrest. Okay. Once that happens, the magistrate will direct if he has to be released or he has to be kept under judicial custody. Okay. Once he is okay, now magistrate will tell, yes, this person has done theft that is visible. Let him stay in the jail for some days. Let's see. Let the case come to the court, and then we have to decide. Then what will happen? He's a poor pickpocketer. Okay, he doesn't even know if we
Then
go
he'll
to
be in
the court.
custody until the trial begins.
Okay, so what do you mean by trial? You're right. He'll be until in the judicial custody. That he'll be in the jail until the trial happens. So what is a trial now?
When the case proceeds, the arguments are
Okay, so what happens next is this particular person's case will go to the court. For example, let us take it has gone to the high court. So what will happen in the high court? The person whose purse has been stolen, that particular person will have his own lawyer, right? But this poor
Yes, ma'am.
pickpocketer, he doesn't even know that there is a profession called as a lawyer. I have to pay money to a lawyer and I have to put him in the court so that he can argue in my favor, because he is not educated. And why he stole? Probably he had some medical emergency at home for which he was forced to steal. He can justify this telling in the court as well, but he is not aware of any such process. So what government does in such cases is government appoints a public prosecutor. So this particular lawyer will be representing the thief in the court. Okay, so this court proceedings happen. The lawyer will argue that the thief had done that under some pressure, that he was having a medical emergency in family. So the court will tell that fine, it was on an emergency, 3 months imprisonment, and we'll close the case. So what will happen now? This particular robber or this particular thief will stay in the court jail for 3 months, and you know, in this 3 months, what will happen? He's not just punished for his crime. There'll be an effort from the government to bring a change in his personality. There are various programs in the jail where they try to change the mindset of the jail inmates and make them better people for the society. So after 3 months, he'll be coming out of the jail and probably he'll realize his mistake and he'll go in a legal way. This is the normal case. But if you see what is happening in reality is that there are so many under trials, that is people whose case has not yet come to court at all. Okay, just imagine now this particular robber stole the purse of a very rich person, so his case luckily went to the court. There are many such petty cases for which people are arrested and kept in jail, but their case has never gone to the court. That time, what happens? Probably, if it goes to the court, you know, they might serve imprisonment of 6 months or 1 year, they'll be released, but their case has not gone to the court at all, and they have already spent 4 to 5 years, or some of them even 20 years of their life in jail without the trial happening. So don't you think this is a violation of their basic fundamental right to justice?
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So you cannot point, we as a citizens cannot point out one particular people here, because court is already having burden of so many cases, and this particular lawyers are also in shortage who can be appointed as public prosecutors. There are many reasons for it, for which we need a lot of judicial amendments itself. But if we wait for all that things to happen, these inmates there, it's a life in matter, right? Their whole life will be wasted in jail itself. So there was one case in Bihar. This happened in Bihar. So a particular NGO, you know, it was way back in 1976, I believe. They all together approached the Supreme Court questioning about the rights of these under trials. They told that if these under trials are serving so many years in imprisonment, don't you think it's a burden on government also? Because if a person is in jail, you have to provide them all the basic amenities. Again, a burden on the government itself. So please do something, do an order. What Supreme Court does, it just orders or it just directs the what government to do certain actions. So this NGO approached the Supreme Court on behalf of these jail under trials of Bihar, and then Supreme Court gave a judgment in this case telling that don't do like this. This is a very bad impact on Indian judicial system, and even a basic right of a person is being violated. So a committee has to be recommended by the government, and it should make sure that these under trials, if they've served some 2 to 3 years in jail already, leave them off taking a fine, or make sure that they'll be coming and giving sign to the police station, or make sure they don't leave the city. Make some provision. We are directing the government to release these under trials on a case to case basis. So this government of India took it very seriously, and now what is the mechanism is there is a committee in every district headed by a district commissioner and district SP and another person from the judiciary. They'll sit together once in 6 months or something, and they'll see all the under trial cases, and they'll be sending the people. If these petty cases are there and if their jail term is 3 months, they are already in jail for 6 months, means they'll be sent off and they'll be released. Okay, so already in the jail 6 months, their personality would have changed significantly based on the efforts of the jail mates. So don't you think this particular NGOs, it took the responsibility of approaching the Supreme Court on behalf of under trials, and today it is benefiting under trials all over the country. So what is this is means, this is what is the meaning of locus standi. That is, person who is directly in what is called person who is directly impacted by a case, they approaching the Supreme Court or judiciary directly is called locus standi. So this locus standi was given away in case of PIL. That is, any public spirited citizen, if they approach the judiciary for the welfare of society as a whole, means if you are approaching the judiciary, you should convince them that my case is genuine and it will benefit majority of the society. Then Supreme Court will analyze and give judgment based on that. That is called as public interest litigation. So we studied judges cases, remember, in case of appointment of judges.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
studied judges case, right?
98.
The third judges case was in which year? Can you recall?
98.
1998. That case is also called as SP Gupta case. Okay. In that case, Supreme Court told that we are giving a chance to the public. That is, under public interest litigation, any individual in India can directly approach the High Court or the Supreme Court, but they have to convince us that this particular case is genuine. Okay. So one of the major, you can tell major result of this particular PIL is one incident that happened in Rajasthan. Have you heard of Vishaka guidelines? Vishaka guidelines, have you come across this word anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Okay, before going for that, what is your opinion? Like PIL, is it a positive step, or it is like something unwanted work being done by judiciary by encouraging everybody to come and file PILs?
Actually, in some cases, people go for unnecessary reasons.
Yes. So do you think it is worth giving PIL?
It may be worth, ma'am, but I would choose that it is not that good.
Okay. So PIL, there were very silly reasons for which people have gone for PIL also. Very silly. For example, this time the lockdown happened, and the reason why the country was forced to go on a lockdown mode because of the pandemic. So that time, we were not supposed to go out of the houses or violate the norms. If that was done, even many places people were beaten up as well for violating the law. So beating is something that is very extreme. So coming out of the house is punishable. They told we'll take you to the jail. That is what the government had to threaten because people were not listening. So many people approached the high courts of the respective states. Some person also had gone to the Supreme Court telling our basic right to movement has been violated under PIL. So don't you think this is senseless? Like you cannot tell the
But
Supreme Court.
actually, in
Yeah.
some cases, it is good to have that provision of PIL because if
Yeah.
you have witnessed the recent situation of SSSA exam conducted in
Okay.
Karnataka,
Yeah.
that PIL issued by Rajashree Nayak, it was a very good PIL actually
Yes.
for the protection of children, but the
The High
education
Court
minister did not
didn't.
go
Yes.
for it.
The High Court actually told that it is we leave up to the state
Yes.
government to decide for themselves.
Even
That is
Supreme Court did not involve in
yes.
the.
It didn't involve because see, there is a fine line between executive and judiciary here, and even the legislature. They cannot violate in certain areas. In case of taking these decisions of an executive, judiciary will tell that you are experts to do that. We just review the laws. You are the ones who implement laws. You know it better. We just review laws, so it is better taken care by the executive. That is the reason certain PILs are just pushed away like that. But there are many PILs which have kind of brought a revolutionary change in the way Indians today, as such, whole Indians have been impacted positively by such PILs. Can you name any one of them, if you recall? Any one PIL? So I'll tell you one example and I'll give you another case that you will be studying it yourself. I'll explain it in the next class. But if you read that case, you'll realize the value of like positive contributions that of PIL. Okay. The one I'll explain today is about Vishaka guidelines. Okay. ASHA workers, they have become very popular after the corona
Yes,
Yes,
pandemic.
ma'am.
Yeah,
Yes,
ASHA
ma'am.
workers, they are the ones who are the who have the ground level interaction for all the social sector schemes in the country. If you want to immunization, if you want to give vaccination for the children, ASHA workers are important because they are the ones who collect data. And if you want to make sure the midday meal scheme is being implemented in a school properly, ASHA workers again will have important. So for every such small, very minute 38 schemes are there for which ASHA workers give their complete support. So one of such ASHA workers, it's the story of one such ASHA worker in Rajasthan. Child marriage is prohibited in India. What is the meaning of child marriage?
That
uh,
the kids
the
get
girl
married.
below age of 18
The
and
girl will be married before the age of
18 years. So as
and
per
boy
the law,
below 21 years.
yeah, if you
Now
see
it
a
has
child
been changed.
marriage, yeah, legal age for marriage is 18 for girls and 21 for boys. That is fine. But if you see child marriage, the meaning of child marriage is nothing but any person who is being married before the age of 18 years is called as a considered as a child marriage. So
Yes, ma'am.
this is banned in India. So simply if you make a law and ban it in India, do you think it will be implemented or people will understand it is banned? I'll not do from this from today. Okay, fine.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Even
no, ma'am.
It
yeah,
is still
because
evident in many village areas.
even now this is present, this is an evil that is present in many parts of the country. Okay, so what the government has to do, it has to popularize the scheme, like it has to make people understand why it is harmful for a child to be married at the young age. It has many biological reasons because the child's mental capacity will not be ready to accept a responsibility of marriage. There are many other reasons, scientific reasons given. Even if you explain scientific reasons, there are times where people won't understand. So you need a very long term campaign to bring change in the attitude of people. So campaigns are very much needed. You might be seeing Sachin Tendulkar coming and cleaning the streets for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. Why is that? It is to change the mindset of the people. Similarly, these ASHA workers were roped in the case of Rajasthan, where there was attempt being made to control the child marriage. So one particular ASHA worker, I think her name was Vishaka, she had gone to stop a child marriage happening in a sorry, it was not Vishaka, her name was Bhanwari Devi. Okay, her name was Bhanwari Devi. She tried to stop a child marriage in a very small village in Rajasthan. Okay, you know how it is to stop a child marriage or any such event that is having the support of whole village. You are one, the whole village is against you. Just
Yes,
imagine the
ma'am.
situation. It's so scary even to imagine. She was bold enough. She went alone and with her probably 2 to 3 group of women. They went and tried to stop the child marriage. But as expected, they were threatened very badly. They were even beaten up and sent back from there. And things did not end here. The child marriage happened, and it was kind of an insult to the dignity of the village, right? And dignity of the male villagers. And unfortunately, just a week later also, Bhanwari Devi was gang raped by the villagers. Okay, so this is something happened. Why? Because she was performing her duty as a government person. So this will be considered like a harassment in the workplace, right? She was performing her duty as a Asha worker, and her when she was under duty she was harassed, and the persons who raped were members of the Gram Sabha itself. So this was something very much against the ethics of the whole Indian society as such. So see, she was just an Asha worker who couldn't fight her case. Then an NGO called as Vishaka took up this case in the Supreme Court, and this is one of the major results of a PIL. A PIL went to the Supreme Court, and not just for the case of Bhanwari, they told the harassment faced by women in the workplace all over the country. Okay, whatever the harassments that women may face, there can be various favors expected out of them, and various other discrimination that they do. All these things as such were taken to the Supreme Court. And Supreme Court, it has released a long statement called as Vishaka Guidelines. Okay, Vishaka is the name of the NGO, and under these guidelines, it has directed the central government to make provisions for safe working of women in the working environment. Just I think 6 months or later, Union government passed Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention and Protection Act. It was amended in 2013 also, and this particular act has become very strict. Like, it is a very stringent act, and any person is free, any woman is free to come to the under this act. Any such accusations, it has various provisions, like there will be an internal complaint committee. If it is not resolved there, it will be going to the district commissioner or SP directly, and it will be the speeding procedure also will be very soon. So one small step taken by a NGO, it has made the workplace secure for whole Indians today. Indian women are like very thankful for that particular case called Vishaka Guidelines. So in this case, you feel that PIL is doing something really good for the society, right?
Yes,
One of the
Yes, ma'am.
functions of judiciary is also to bring social change, right? In such matters, social change becomes very important. So Vishaka Guidelines is one such example. So clear what is a PIL?
Yes, ma'am.
So you'll study one more case. Shall I tell you about one more case? Can you read about it and come? It is more
Yes, ma'am.
interesting than the.
Yes, ma'am, we will read it.
Yeah, it is Pinky Virani, PINKY, Pinky, PIRANI. Note it down, Pinky Virani case. And the main person here is Aruna Shanbok. There is a person called as Aruna Shanbok. So do read this case. It is kind of very disturbing and moving case, but the judgment, you can also have your own points for the judgment given by the Supreme Court in this case. What is your opinion? That also you have to tell me in the next class.
Okay, ma'am.
Ma'am, please
Okay,
repeat the details one more time.
Yeah, Pinky Virani. Pinky Virani is the name of the case. It is about a person called as Aruna Shanbog.
Ma'am, can you tell the citation for this case?
It is about euthanasia. Euthanasia is the main topic of discussion in this case, and I need your opinion also.
Ma'am, what is that, ma'am? Yuddha?
EUTH, euthanasia.
Yuddha Vishya.
EUTHI. Write the word EUTHI. Euthanasia. This is a very popular case. You'll find it in Google very easily. Even Wikipedia has this because it's that popular case.
Okay, ma'am.
EUTHI, Euthanasia, euthanasia.
Okay, ma'am.
So we'll meet in the next class. Come prepared with the case, okay? It's nice to read all these.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.